Genesis, chapter 11, verse 10 through chapter 15. And these are the generations of Sem. And Sem was 100 years old when he begot Arphaxad, the second year after the flood. And Sem lived after he had begotten Arphaxad 500 years, and begat sons and daughters, and died. And Arphaxad lived 135 years, and begot Canaan. And Arphaxad lived 100 after he had begotten Canaan, 400 years, and begot sons and daughters, and died. And Canaan lived 130 years, and begot Salah. And Canaan lived after he had begotten Salah 330 years, and begot sons and daughters, and died. And Salah lived 130 years, and begot Heber. And Salah lived after he had begotten Heber 330 years, and begot sons and daughters, and died. And Heber lived 134 years, and begot Phaleg. And Heber lived after he had begotten Phaleg 270 years, and begot sons and daughters, and died. And Phaleg lived 130 years, and begot Ragau. And Phaleg lived after he had begotten Ragau 209 years, and begot sons and daughters, and died. And Ragau lived 132 years, and begot Serach. And Ragau lived after he had begotten Serach 207 years, and begot sons and daughters, and died. And Serach lived 130 years, and begot Nachor. And Serach lived after he had begotten Nachor 200 years, and begot sons and daughters, and died. And Nachor lived 179 years, and begot Thara. And Nachor lived after he had begotten Thara 125 years, and begot sons and daughters, and he died. And Thara lived 70 years, and begot Abram, and Nachor, and Aran. And these are the generations of Thara. Thara begot Abram, and Nachor, and Aran. And Aran begot Lot. And Aran died in the presence of Thara his father, in the land in which he was born, in the country of the Chaldees. And Abraham and Nachor took to themselves wives. The name of the wife of Abram was Sarah, and the name of the wife of Nachor, Malchah, daughter of Aran, and he was the father of Malchah, the father of Jeshkah. And Sarah was barren, and did not bear children. And Thara took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Aran, the son of his son, and Sarah his daughter-in-law, the wife of Abram his son, and led them forth out of the land of the Chaldees, to go to the land of Canaan. And there they came as far as Charan, and he dwelt there. And all the days of Thara in the land of Charan were 205 years, and Thara died in Charan. And the Lord said to Abram, Go forth out of thy land, and out of thy kindred, and come out of the house of thy father, and come into the land which I shall show thee. And I will make thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and magnify thy name, and thou shalt be blessed. And I will bless those who bless thee, and curse those that curse thee. And in thee shall all the tribes of the earth be blessed. And Abram went as the Lord spoke to him, and Lot departed with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he went out of Charan. And Abram took Sarah his wife, and Lot the son of his brother, and all their possessions, as many as they had got, and every soul which they had got in Charan. And they went forth to go into the land of Canaan. And Abram traversed the land lengthwise as far as the place Sychem, to the high oak, and the Canaanites then inhabited the land. And the Lord appeared to Abram, and said to him, I will give this land to thy seed. And Abram built an altar there to the Lord, who appeared to him. And he departed thence to the mountains eastward of Bethel. And there he pitched a tent in Bethel, near the sea, and Agai toward the east. And there he built an altar to the Lord, and called on the name of the Lord. And Abram departed, and went and encamped in the wilderness. Then there was famine in the land, and Abram went down into Egypt to sojourn there, because the famine prevailed in the land. And it came to pass, when Abram drew nigh to enter into Egypt, Abram said to Sarah his wife, I know that thou art a fair woman. It shall come to pass that the Egyptians shall see thee. They shall say, This is his wife, and they shall slay me, but they shall save thee alive. Say therefore, I am his sister, that it may be well with me on account of thee, and my soul shall live because of thee. And it came to pass, when Abram entered into Egypt, the Egyptians having seen his wife, that she was very beautiful, that the princes of Pharaoh saw her, and praised her to Pharaoh, and brought her into the house of Pharaoh. And they treated Abram well on her account. And he had sheep, and calves, and asses, and men servants, and women servants, and mules, and camels. And God afflicted Pharaoh with great and severe afflictions, and his house, because of Sarah, Abram's wife. Pharaoh, having called Abram, said, What is this thou hast done to me, that thou didst not tell me that she was thy wife? Wherefore didst thou say, She is my sister? And I took her for a wife to myself, And now, behold, thy wife is before thee. Take her, and go quickly away. And Pharaoh gave charge to men concerning Abram, to join in sending him forward, and his wife, into the land that he had. And Abram went up out of Egypt, and he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him, into the wilderness. And Abram was very rich in cattle, and silver, and gold. And he went to the place whence he came, into the wilderness as far as Bethel, as far as the place where his tent was before, between Bethel and Agai, to the place of the altar, which he built there at first. And Abram there called on the name of the Lord. And Lot, who went out with Abram, had sheep, and oxen, and tents. And the land was not large enough for them to live together, because their possessions were great, and the land was not large enough for them to live together. And there was a strife between the herdsmen of Abram's cattle, and the herdsmen of Lot's cattle, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites that inhabited the land. And Abram said to Lot, Let there not be strife between me and thee, and between my herdsmen and thy herdsmen, for we are brethren. Lo, it is not the whole land before thee? Separate thyself from me. If thou goest to the left, I will go to the right, and if thou goest to the right, I will go to the left. And Lot, having lifted up his eyes, observed all the country round about the Jordan, that it was all watered, before God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, as the garden of the Lord, and as the land of Egypt, until thou come to Zogorah. And Lot chose for himself all the country round the Jordan. And Lot went from the east, and they were separated each from his brother. And Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan. And Lot dwelt in a city of the neighboring people, and pitched his tent in Sodom. But the men of Sodom were evil, and exceedingly sinful before God. And God said to Abram after Lot was separated from him, Look up with thine eyes, and behold from the place where thou now art northward, and southward, and eastward, and seaward. And for all the land which thou seest, I will give it to thee, and to thy seed forever. And I will make thy seed like the dust of the earth. If any one is able to number the dust of the earth, then shall thy seed be numbered. Arise and traverse the land, both in the length of it and in the breadth. For to thee will I give it, and to thy seed forever. And Abram, having removed his tent, came and dwelt by the oak of Mamre, which is in Kebron, and there he built an altar to the Lord. And it came to pass in the reign of Amarphal, king of Sennar, and Arioch, king of Elasar, that Kodologomor, king of Elam, and Thargal, king of nations, made war with Bala, king of Sodom, and war with Barsa, king of Gomorrah, and with Sennar, king of Adama, and with Semobar, king of Seboim, and the king of Balak. This is Segor. All these met with one consent at the Salt Valley. This is now the Sea of Salt. 12 years they served Kodologomor, and the 13th year they revolted. And in the 14th year came Kodologomor, and the kings with him, and cut to pieces the giants in Astaroth, and Karnaim, and strong nations with them, and the Amians in the city Save, and the Corians in the mountains of Seir, and the turpentine tree of Pharon, which is in the desert. And having turned back, they came to the well of judgment. This is Cades. And they cut in pieces all the princes of Amalek, and the Amorites dwelling in Asan-Santhamar. And the king of Sodom went out, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Adama, and the king of Seboim, and the king of Balak. This is Segor. And they set themselves in array against them for a war in the Salt Valley, against Kodologomor, king of Elam, and Thargal, king of nations, and Amarphal, king of Sennar, and Arioch, king of Elasar, the 4 kings against the 5. Now the Salt Valley consists of slime pits. And the king of Sodom fled, and the king of Gomorrah, and they fell in there. And they that were left fled to the mountain country. And they took all the cavalry of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their provisions, and departed. And they took also Lot, the son of Abram's brother, and his baggage, and departed, for he dwelt in Sodom. And one of them that had been rescued came and told Abram the Hebrew, and he dwelt by the oak of Mamre the Amorite, the brother of Eshcol, and the brother of Aunan, who were confederates with Abram. And Abram, having heard that Lot his nephew had been taken captive, numbered his own homeborn servants 318, and pursued after them to Dan. And he came upon them by night, he and his servants, and he smote them and pursued them as far as Kobah, which is on the left of Damascus. And he recovered all the cavalry of Sodom, and he recovered Lot his nephew, and all his possessions, and the women, and all the people. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after he returned from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer, and the kings with him, to the valley of Sabi. This was the plain of the kings. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth loaves and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God. And he blessed Abram and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High God, who made heaven and earth. And blessed be the Most High God, who delivered thine enemies into thy power. And Abram gave him the tithe of all. And the king of Sodom said to Abram, Give me the men, and take the horses to thyself. And Abram said to the king of Sodom, I will stretch out my hand to the Lord the Most High God, who made the heaven and the earth, that I will not take from all thy goods from a string to a shoe latchet, lest thou shouldst say, I have made Abram rich, except what things the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men that went with me, Escol, Anan, Mamre, these shall take a portion. And after these things, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I shield thee. Thy reward shall be very great. And Abram said, Master and Lord, what wilt thou give me? Whereas I am departing without a child. But the son of Masech, my homeborn female slave, this Eliezer of Damascus, is mine heir. And Abram said, I am grieved, since thou hast given me no seed, but my homeborn servant shall succeed me. And immediately there was a voice of the Lord to him, saying, This shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come out of thee shall be thine heir. And he brought him out and said to him, Look up now to heaven, and count the stars, if thou shalt be able to number them fully. And he said, Thus shall thy seed be. And Abram believed God, and it was counted to him for righteousness. And he said to him, I am God that brought thee out of the land of the Chaldeans, so as to give thee this land to inherit. And he said, Master and Lord, how shall I know that I shall inherit it? And he said to him, Take for me a heifer in her 3rd year, and a she-goat in her 3rd year, and a ram in his 3rd year, and a dove and a pigeon. So he took to him all these, and divided them in the midst, and set them opposite to each other, but the birds he did not divide. And the birds came down upon the bodies, even upon the divided parts of them, and Abram sat down by them. And about sunset a trance fell upon Abram, and lo, a great gloomy terror falls upon him. And it was said to Abram, Thou shalt surely know that thy seed shall be a sojourner in a land not their own, and they shall enslave them, and afflict them, and trouble them 400 years. And the nation whomsoever they shall serve I will judge, and after this they shall come forth hither with much property. But thou shalt depart to thy fathers in peace, nourished in a good old age. And in the 4th generation they shall return hither, for the signs of the Amorites are not yet filled up, even until now. And when the sun was about to set, there was a flame, and behold, a smoking furnace and lamps of fire, which passed between these divided pieces. In that day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, To thy seed I will give this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river Euphrates, the Kenites, and the Kenizzites, and the Kadmonians, and the Kettites, and the Perizzites, and the Rephaim, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Evites, and the Girgashites, and the Jebusites. Psalm 6. For the end, a psalm of David, among the hymns for the 8th. O Lord, rebuke me not in thy wrath, neither chasten me in thine anger. Pity me, O Lord, for I am weak. Heal me, O Lord, for my bones are vexed. My soul also is grievously vexed. But thou, O Lord, how long? Return, O Lord, deliver my soul. Save me for thy mercy's sake. For in death no man remembers thee, and who will give thee thanks in Hades? I am weary with my groaning. I shall wash my bed every night. I shall water my couch with my tears. Mine eye is troubled because of my wrath. I am worn out because of all my enemies. Depart from me, all ye that work iniquity. For the Lord has heard the voice of my weeping. The Lord has hearkened to my petition. The Lord has accepted my prayer. Let all mine enemies be put to shame, and sore troubled. Let them be turned back and grievously put to shame speedily. Proverbs 1, 16 through 19. For their feet run to do evil, and are swift to shed blood. For nets are not without cause spread for birds. For they that are concerned in murder store up evils for themselves, and the overthrow of transgressors is evil. These are the ways of all that perform lawless deeds, for by ungodliness they destroy their own life. The Holy Gospel according to St. Matthew, chapter 4. Then was Jesus led up of the Spirit to the wilderness, to be tempted by the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward hungered. And when the tempter came to him, he said, If thou be the Son of God, command that these stones be made bread. But he answered and said, It is written, Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Then the devil taketh him up into the holy city, and setteth him on a pinnacle of the temple, and saith unto him, If thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down. For it is written, He shall give his angels charge concerning thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest at any time thou dash thy foot against a stone. Jesus said unto him, It is written again, Thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. Again, the devil taketh him up into an exceedingly high mountain, and showeth him all the kingdoms of the world, and the glory of them, and saith unto him, All these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. Then saith Jesus unto him, Get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, Thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. Then the devil leaveth him, and behold, angels came and ministered unto him. Now when Jesus had heard that John was cast into prison, he departed into Galilee. And leaving Nazareth, he came and dwelt in Capernaum, which is upon the sea coast, in the borders of Zebulun and Naphtali, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying, The land of Zebulun, the land of Naphtali, by the way of the sea, beyond Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. The people which sat in darkness saw great light, and to them which sat in the region and shadow of death, light is sprung up. From that time Jesus began to preach and to say, Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And Jesus, walking by the sea of Galilee, saw two brethren, Simon called Peter, and Andrew his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishers. And he saith unto them, Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. And they straightway left their nets, and followed him. And going on from thence, he saw two other brothers, James the son of Zebedee, and John his brother, in a ship with Zebedee their father, mending their nets, and he called them. And they immediately left the ship and their father, and followed him. And Jesus went about all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues, and preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing all manner of sickness and all manner of disease among the people. And his fame went throughout all Syria, and they brought unto him all sick people that were taken with divers diseases and torments, and those which were possessed with devils, and those which were lunatic, and those that had the palsy, and he healed them. And there followed him great multitudes of people from Galilee, and from Decapolis, and from Jerusalem, and from Judea, and from beyond Jordan.